And for those who think it's a third world country, in the inner cities, they don't think that. They see people trying. They see the Democratic Party trying to get health care, trying to get education. It's a losing battle sometimes, and certain things you can't fix every problem. But I know a lot of people that were able to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, so to speak, as certain people like to say, because of the programs made available in neighborhoods where they can't afford an allergist, they can't afford a psychologist, they can't afford a team of doctors to take their child who seems to have a problem. In the poor schools, all they have is special ed. In the rich neighborhoods, they have an entire school for autism and Asperger's. They have an entire school for special learning. Or they have a private tutor. They have a private teacher. They have a babysitter who's trained in diabetes, in Asperger's, in autism, in whatever that rich kid, spoiled brat has. He has a whole team around him trying to fix his problems, make him happy, make him comfortable. The poor kid has 2 working parents with nobody ever home, going to the school without the resources to figure out what his problems are. So he just goes to special ed, or he goes to the school, the special ed school, not special needs, not special learning, the special ed school. It should be the same thing, but it's not. And then you go down that path. And that family that doesn't have the budget for good food, they're eating shitty fast food and frozen food and dollar store. Like what I did when I was a poor actor. I did this for a couple years, but my brain was already developed. It did destroy some brain cells, but as a young actor, and I'm fat now because of it. Like Michael Moore will say, yeah, when he's poor, he started gaining weight again. He lost weight for a while. But yeah, you're poor, and so you eat all these crappy carbs because that's all you can afford, and it doesn't, like, it fills you up, but it doesn't satisfy, because it really doesn't have anything of nutritional value, like dollar store crackers and deli meats, like always eating the cheapest deli meats and 99-cent hot dogs and 99-cent American cheese, and it's barely food. And so when you eat a normal meal, you have a sandwich and a couple chips and maybe a big glass of milk or water or whatever, right? And in a normal situation, that's a normal meal, normal lunch. But like an hour later, you realize, your body realizes, oh, I didn't get the protein I needed. I didn't get the B12, the D, the C, all the vitamins I needed, right? Gotta get your niacin. Oh, you need that B12. So you eat like 4 sandwiches because you're still hungry. Or you're still dizzy because you literally have not had enough nutrition to accomplish the tasks that you're trying to accomplish, right? But when you're like 2 years old, you just eat what they give you, man. And these parents, they might be ignorant too. It's multi-generational. But it's not just the inner city. Like, we look at poor and all we think about is the inner city. When was the last time we saw images of the Appalachia that do look like a third world country, that looks like Sally Struthers in Africa? Hey, $1 a day will feed the whole town. Put clothes on their back. Remember the old jokes? There are all these comics. Oh my God, I need to move to the town where $1 a day can feed the entire town. I need to move to that town. What is this weird comment? What's the comment?
Someone tweeted something about eating naked with deli sandwich.
Oh, they like deli meats. Oh, naked.
Yeah.
I've done that. I don't recommend it.
And my media volume is down, but it's still making noise.
Oh, yeah. Very annoying. So this isn't a third world country. there are things that could happen that could turn us into a third world country really quick, like giving more countries nuclear power, Mr. Trump. Everybody has nuclear power.
Nuclear, wrong.
Did I say nuclear?
It's nuclear.
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 I'm saying it.
Fuck you, Bush. It's all your fault. Nuclear. 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 Weapons of mass destruction. Donald Trump is a one-man weapon of mass destruction. He doesn't have the temperament. He doesn't have a fucking clue. If anything, he's out there. Thank you. If anything, he's out there listening to the extremes. Fuck, he's got alt-right Breitbart editor as his fucking campaign manager. CEO. It's bad enough like they forced themselves into the Republican Party, but the party's been able to hold them at bay. Like, yeah, they've used them to get power for some shitty people, and some of those shitty people got through and got into Congress from the far reaches of, bumfuck Alabama. Not all about Alabama. I love Alabama, but let's face it, there's some scary, shitty areas that you wouldn't want to go there as a white person. Because there are too many white people. Had a great comic, Mike D. Died recently of AIDS. Not gay, had some drugs problems, but he was a recovered addict. But at some point before he recovered, he got the AIDS. He got the AIDS virus, and the first time I ever saw him perform, it says, I can't do a show if there's no black people in the audience. Italian guy from Bronx, Mike D. Amazing guy. And he was at that point, he was like, I don't know what he was like before I met him. When I met him, he was a crazy comic, but during the day, he went into shelters and he went into places and talked to guys. Say, hey, I used to be you, and now I'm off the drugs. And eventually he died of AIDS, and I think a bunch of comics got together and marched in the AIDS parade, actually. And AIDS walk. Donated a lot of money. And raised a lot of money in his name, and it's kind of funny. I think the Republican Party has always been against people that want a handout. They want the people that they don't take personal responsibility. But I feel like those diehard Trump supporters, the people at the rallies, all they want to do is blame somebody else, and maybe they're not racist. Maybe they're just swallowing the Kool-Aid, right? People like my father who just vote straight Republican no matter what. Which is, to me, is just as scary as voting straight Democrat no matter what. Equally scary. In a quiz of true-false questions, you're probably going to get a 50% right just by guessing, right? You flip the coin enough times. It's going to end up being 50-50 over long enough. After 100 flips, it might be 60-30. After 1,000, it might be, or 60-40. After 1,000, it might be 55-45. But you keep going long enough, the averages will be closer and closer to 50%. And I think we got about 35 to 40% people that go out and just vote straight Democrat. And 35 to 40% out that just go straight Republican. And the parties are important. We need strong parties. But we need people to educate themselves. I'll keep going back to it. There are people in the poorest parts of this country that grow up to be millionaires and billionaires, that get an education. From the shittiest, scariest neighborhoods in the inner city to the shittiest, scary neighborhoods in bumfuck rural wherever. There are people that say, you know what? I'm surrounded by shit. I'm getting the fuck out. And then they move to California, New York, and become liberals, and and everyone hates Californian liberal because, like, you know, oh yeah, that's where all of my friends they used to be friends, but turns out they were fags, so they moved to New York or California. Or, you know, yeah, my son became a liberal, my daughter became a liberal. They started, you know, loving the whales more than people, so they joined Greenpeace, or, you know. I think in some areas, like, you know, when you're surrounded by shit, maybe you don't realize it's shit. But in this day and age, like the Arab Spring and all that stuff, you know, the reason we have this thing going on in the Middle East, with the Middle East going through this turmoil, it's not that different than what's going on here, right? What's going on in the Middle East, for years, I remember the 80s, when I was in school, in high school and junior high, we always used to talk about the army is out there, they can drop flyers. They block radio transmissions, they block a lot of stuff, but, you know, they used to drop flyers before in Arabic or in different languages saying so-and-so can be taken down, rise up. You don't have to be a slave of sorts. Not real slavery, but, you know, you don't have to be a victim of this tyranny anymore. We're here to help. If you want us to help, we're here to help. We have somebody that if we depose him, we have somebody, one of your own people that want to come in and help you create a democracy. But they had an 80% illiteracy rate. 10 to 20% of the people in these countries actually had education and could read. They couldn't even read. You know, here, if you're not reading Dr. Seuss by the time you're 5, you either have really shitty parents or you have a mental problem. You have a learning disability, right? And then they can identify it in most cases. In most cases, oh, he's just lazy. He's just a shitty kid. No, it could be ADHD. Now, in the rich neighborhoods, it's overdiagnosed. You know, they're just as neglected because their rich parents have nannies growing up or TV or whatever, right? In some cases, I do a lot of shows at a lot of schools, and the shittiest kids are the rich kids. So when it comes to, like, respect for people and, you know what I mean? I've never gone into a school in the inner city and felt unsafe. I've gone into some rich schools and felt unwanted. And I'm funny. I mean, I'm not trying to blow myself up. When I come to your school, it's going to be the most fun you've ever had in school. I'm not saying that. I'm just repeating what every client that tells me that, you know, not just me. I have this organization of amazing, amazing people. Improv for kids, improv for teens. You wouldn't know it by the way I talk on these videos sometimes. But yeah. But I'm not a child entertainer. We just do shows for kids, and they're really good. And then you go into the school, and it's like, oh, who the hell are you? I'm rich. What are you going to do to impress me, you funny fuck? And they're like the shitty hecklers at age 12 to 14, not even sometimes, but middle school rich kids are the worst kids in the world. They really are. I'd much rather slum it up in the ghetto.
Not all of them are like that.
Not all. And there are exceptions. There are exceptions.
And most of them
But-
are okay.
And we work with a lot of kids.
It's necessarily their fault.
We work a lot. It isn't their fault. No, they are just as neglected as the inner city kid whose parents are working 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah, it doesn't make
The difference is their parents are,
They're a little entitled.
they're working, they're entitled, they got nannies, they don't have supervision. Or they're like, oh, he's just acting out. He's you know. Dr. Spock says we shouldn't. I forget which one Dr. Spock was. You know, was he the one that says you shouldn't hit or you should hit?
Dr. Spock.
Like, oh, we never hit our child.
Wait, the
We
one-
never spank our
Dr.
child.
Spock on Star
No, the Dr. Spock, the baby doctor. The 60s, 70s wrote like the book on bringing up kids. And it was like, for a while, I was like, oh, well, Dr. Spock says. I'm going back a few decades. Before my time, actually. So, but that's the only one that comes to mind. We shouldn't, I know, I'm so oaked. You corrected yourself with the same word. That's kind of funny. I'm not saying you should hit a kid. I don't like abuse. But discipline and I'm going to warn you now, when I come to your school, I am not a disciplinarian. I'm not there to babysit your kids. So when your kids throw shoes at us, I'm leaving. I'm going to make sure you pay me before I start the show. But if your kids are a bunch of fucking assholes, I'm leaving. I'm not going to scream at them. Because clearly you don't scream at them enough. Or maybe you scream at them too much but never actually talk to them. Listen to them. Or maybe you're like Willie Loman. You have this inflated view of what you are and what your kids are. And it's funny, at the very top, it's usually not the problem, right? It's like the upper middle class, the wannabes, right? The ones trying to keep up with the Joneses. Those are usually the most annoying. There are people much richer that are not snobs. But, and it's not a money issue. And I don't want to be like, I don't want to be a classist. I hate the class warfare thing. And this is why I'm not a pure liberal. I'm not a pure conservative. I don't like the rhetoric on either side. I'm going down a path that sounds too much like that, which I really hate it when I hear it. So I'm going to stop myself. But personal responsibility. We need more personal responsibility from a lot of people. But we need more empathy from a lot of people that sometimes somebody does everything right.
FBI discovered Clinton aides emails weeks ago. They discovered them weeks ago.
Wow. So let me close on this. I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, emails. Sanders said it last year, I don't give a fuck about your damn emails. That's not what he said. I don't give a damn, right?
That'd be funny if he said that.
Yeah, it would be funny. I think that's what Larry David needs to say as Bernie Sanders, right? I don't give a damn about your goddamn emails. I don't care about your goddamn emails. I don't. And what I really don't care about is somebody saying there might be something in these emails we haven't read yet. What I really don't care to give a shit about is Donald Trump saying we're in a third world country because the system is rigged. Any country that doesn't vote me for president must be rigged. Any country that doesn't want a sexist pig. No, if it was a third